Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm going to do a little camera adjustment here. Yeah, that's good. The sun sets so early and I needed to spend the last hour of sunlight preparing our fire area for the ritual that I'm having here on Wednesday evening. So it is my delight to be with you for a Dark Goddess astrology reading for the combined charts or the sequential charts for winter solstice and the new moon. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I offer Dark Goddess astrology. It is astrology a little different than what you may be used to, working with the goddess points of the chart with a special emphasis on the three Liliths, Great Attractor, Galactic Center, and any of the other dark goddess energies, and some also so-called masculine energies that are incredibly influential in our healing journey. We tend to look in the dark because that's where the medicine is. So today, I looked up the chart of the moment just a few minutes ago and noticed that the moon is in an exact conjunction with Psyche. That is in the 11th, 12th degree of Scorpio. And I found that fascinating because the moon is picking up that Psyche energy in an opposition to Albion and the North Node. And it is carrying that Psyche energy through Sagittarius, past the Great Attractor, past the Galactic Center, where it will meet up with the Sun on Thursday morning. So we are talking about the winter solstice, which happens where I live at 4:49 p.m. on Wednesday. And then approximately 36 hours later, I didn't do the exact math, but a couple of hours before sunrise on December 23rd is the new moon in Capricorn at 1:33 Capricorn, where the sun and moon are merged. So this is sequential, happening very quickly, and the energy is, a lot of the aspects are the same. The planets don't move that much in 36 hours. The moon and the sun will move significantly. One reason I looked up the chart just now is I was checking the position of the sun. The sun has just completed an exact conjunction with the galactic center. And it will still be effective, still close enough to be effective for the solstice and the new moon. So the sun is picking up this extraordinary, deep feminine energy that is holding space at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And that sets the tone for the entire solstice. So let's have a look here at what is going on. I'm looking at the solstice chart and I'm looking at the new moon chart to see how things have shifted. Yeah, okay, got it. I'll show you a picture of the solstice chart. This is, look at all those red lines and squares and oppositions. The one that you may have heard about, I have heard other astrologers talking about this, besides the sun gathering the energy of the galactic center and carrying it into that 0.0 degree of Capricorn. That is the signal that we've started a new season. In the north here, we call it the beginning of winter, but it's really the beginning of a Capricorn, the Capricorn solstice. It's high summer in the southern hemisphere and deep winter in the northern hemisphere. And things that happen on these cardinal points have a way of reverberating around the chart. One of my teachers, Eric Francis, calls it the Aries point, and I've heard other people talk about that too. And we have action at Aries, the Aries point. Jupiter is there at 007 Aries, and then opposite that at 047 Libra is Earth, Ceres, the planet that represents Gaia, our home. And she also represents nourishment, food, and both soul food and physical feeding and nourishment and care of our bodies. And this square, Gaia is looking across the sky at Jupiter, and Jupiter tends to expand what he is aspecting. So he is bringing this expansive, brand new, energetic Aries energy in a kind of a projecting and mirroring energy to Ceres. So what this means is that matters of food and the earth are up big time. And because this is Aries point energy, cardinal, initiating energy, it is representing something that is going to just keep rolling and flowing throughout the year. And we know this is true. This is like getting our attention about something that we already know, because food is an issue on the earth. Food comes from the land, from healthy soil. And how we produce our food, what we choose to eat, how we move food around, the business of food, and the fact that food is a commodity and a bargaining chip of power. Corporate entities, governmental entities control, control food. So this is, and here we have the sun and at 0 Capricorn, about to conjoin with the moon a day and a half later for the new moon in Capricorn. And Capricorn represents the corporate and the government and the institution, among other things, but it definitely represents that. So at this moment in time, what are we being asked to understand about food and the earth and the soil, everything that produces food? And what do we want to expand? Do we want to expand abundance and plenty and health for everyone? Or are we going to expand conflict, deprivation, and a way with food that is damaging to the earth and to people and to our communities and societies? Now that is looking at it from a really big global picture. It also is incredibly personal. This time of year, first off, we've got feasting and excess here at the Yuletide. Food and sweets and treats are a big part of our celebrations. And then we've got New Year's coming up. All of the entire sign of Capricorn is about self-improvement, fixing what's wrong, and finally starting that diet. Now, whether it is an ideologically oriented diet or whether it is all about health or appearance or losing weight or providing food for those who don't have it, that's where it gets personal. Food is extraordinarily personal, and I am not here to tell you how or what to eat or to advocate one way or another. I have my ideas about what is better for the earth, and they may not agree with your ideas. And we have other things to fight about, or to, let me rephrase that, we have other things to join forces in and find our common ground if we disagree about the way to move forward with health, nutrition, what's good for the earth, what's good for the people. The bottom line is that we do what is good for the people. Now, last moon cycle, we had the conjunction and transit of Juno with Nessus, which was all about shifting our value system and the foundation of our societies and our businesses and our economies over what is good and supportive of mothers and children. And the work that I've personally been doing and some things I've been learning this year are very much emphasizing the importance of birth, pregnancy, gestation, birth, how each of us, how the mother is treated when she's conceiving and carrying and nurturing a child, and how the child's experience. So very much when we're looking at what involves Jupiter and what involves Ceres, we're looking at how to take care of this basic building block of our life on earth, which is the intimate relationship of mother and child. And what I'm learning, it is definitely about the changes, reforms, the remembering we need to do. We have medicalized and toxified pregnancy and birth so much that it is damaging to people. And we also want to remember healing our own birth experience and healing the past generations. Everything that we do in ritual, in ceremony, in healing, in awakening, we do for the past, for our ancestors, and for the future. So keeping that in mind. It's also interesting that in the story, the famous story that we know, Ceres, who is, Ceres is her Greek name. In Roman mythology, she was Demeter. She had a conflict with Jupiter, also Zeus in Greek mythology, because Zeus approved of, aided and abetted the abduction of her daughter into Hades. Pluto abducted her daughter. Now, in the totality of that myth, that's a very big story with a lot of nuance. But from Demeter's perspective, or Ceres' perspective, they took her daughter, they didn't tell her where she was, and they lied, and they were in cahoots. And her response to that was to go into first rage and then deep grief, and her expression of that was she ceased to provide food. The grain did not grow, which threatened all of life on earth. So here we have a mother's story of grief and a mother's story of being abused and dismissed and trivialized by the system, the male hierarchy of gods on Olympus, in other words. So this T-square with the sun picking up the divine feminine, the deep, dark, black hole at the center of our galaxy, and then moving into the first degree of Capricorn, opening up a new cycle, and then moving into the new moon position where the moon catches up with the sun. It's calling attention to this level of injustice that dismisses and diminishes women and says that men know better, or the system knows better, the hierarchy knows better, and places the concerns of women lower. And this is absolutely upside down for, hi Tanya, thank you. We'll be here, recorded. So that is very much what is opening up at the moment of solstice right now. But it's not the only thing. We have the Liliths all active, also in opposition. And I want to look at those because the Liliths are playing a very big role in the solstice. And in fact, they're playing a very big role in the ritual that I am hosting on my land here. There are a small group of women who are coming, and we are opening up the channel to receive insights and wisdom. We are giving of ourselves through dance and movement out under the Milky Way and receiving, hollowing ourselves out and receiving what is coming through. And other than that, I don't know what it's going to look like. We are placing ourselves in a place of service. And here is what is happening astrologically with the Liliths. All of the Liliths are active. Algol, the dark goddess, the demonized goddess. Algol is the Lilith star, a star that represents the demonized feminine. Both, it represents in some mythologies the eye of Medusa, which turns everything into stone, particularly men and monsters. She was considered herself a monster, the snake-headed stone turning goddess. And it also, in other mythologies, represents the eye of Lilith, who was demonized. She was first woman and a representative, an avatar of the goddess in her pure, pre-patriarchal form as creatrix, feminine energy. So Algol is there, still in a trine to Pluto, where she has been for a couple of years, as Pluto moves very slowly through the last segment of Capricorn. And let me see what else is up. Yes, Algol is also in close harmony with Black Moon Lilith, who is in the final 2 degrees of Cancer, opposite Pluto. So Black Moon Lilith is getting ready. She's getting ready to leave Cancer and shift into Leo. So we'll be talking about that change of energy. But right now, she's still in Cancer, and she is opposite Pluto. And she's been hanging out there for a good since the eclipses, which was last moon cycle. So here we are, another opposition. And then she is also communicating with Lilith asteroid, who is the personal, disowned feminine, the part of us, the feminine part of all of us, male and female, but women tend to embody it and live it out in our lives more frequently for obvious reasons, because we are carrying that feminine wound that says the energy of Lilith is evil, wrong, bad, demonized, and it must be repressed or destroyed. And what Lilith stands for, universally, in all of her avatars, is that feminine that is alive and fertile and sensual and sexual. And in a way, we're back to food, because food requires fertility. And if there is one thing that corporate food is doing, it is destroying fertility. Everything from seeds, hybridizing and genetically modifying seeds so that they will not reproduce. You cannot save seed for the next generation, which is blasphemy, pure and simple. And destroying the soil through monocropping, petrochemical fertilizers and herbicides and insecticides, poison, poison, poison. So we're denying Ceres, and we are denying this erotic process that feeds us, literally. Everything I've talked about in this reading so far has had to do with sex. We don't have new children without sex. We don't have, whether you eat animals or vegetables, we don't have them without sex, reproduction, and fertility. This is life. Life is a system of sexuality, fertility, the embedded, embodied power of growth, and the coming together of masculine, feminine energies happens with plants. It even happens with mushroom and fungi and things that we used to consider asexual. We now know there really isn't an asexual. There is this merging of energies that allow the next generation, that allow more. And when we talk about more, then we're looking at the sky at Jupiter, because one thing that Jupiter loves is more. And so always be conscious of what you are inviting more. More of what you don't want, or more of what you do want. Which is why our underpinning values are incredibly important, because they filter up through our thought processes, our breath, our innate embodied desires. Wow. This is quite a solstice, partly because of the times. When we started a year ago, we didn't know that Omicron was coming. We were hoping that the pandemic was over. And we did this strange dance worldwide in societies all over the world of, we have a more virulent, more contagious form of this disease, and we are going to try to return to some semblance of normal life. And we did that dance, and it is what it is. And then Russia invaded Ukraine, and that had an impact on world food, world fuel, the things that people need to live. Not to mention what it did to the Ukraine. And then things happened with the political scene around the world, but particularly, well, a lot happened in Great Britain and a lot happened in the United States. These are headlines that I happen to remember. And we're poised. We're poised now for this time. And I am thinking now, as I speak with you, about friends and loved ones who have died this year, and other friends and loved ones who are literally on the exit ramp. They are dying. And I also know many people who have been born this year, and that is a very wonderful thing as well. So this is the time of year. Our ancestors, they looked at this time of darkness. They honored it. They celebrated. They celebrated because they knew that their astronomical architectures, their standing stones, their buildings, their windows, they knew that they could see, the sun is rising here, and as it rises in this slightly different position, the light is being reborn. And so we have the mythologies of the light returning. But they also knew that we were looking at the time of year here in the north where many of the old ones and some of the young ones would not make it. The cold, possible disease, the food might not hold out. It's a dangerous time of year. It is a time of farewell. And so our ancestors, our deep ancestors, integrated this into the celebrations and the honoring. It was an honoring of the darkness, of the cycle, of the change. And that is what I invite you to do. Whatever you're planning, you may have already had your Yule or Solstice celebration. You may have already lit the first 2 Hanukkah candles by now. You may have already done family gatherings for Christmas or whatever holidays that you're celebrating. Add to it this deep reverence for the darkness. Add to it this global mourning and grief for the ones who have passed and the ones who will be moving on, who will be crossing that threshold from life into death, and from death or from the void into life. We have dying and birthing going on all the time, and we want to honor this cycle. In fact, Psyche and the moon right now, as I'm speaking to you, they are opposite Albion. Albion is a planet of thresholds. He is out beyond Pluto, and he moves. As he moves, I'm looking to see, gosh, in my lifetime, he's hardly moved. He's only moved through 3 signs. He moves very slowly. He's so far away. But he represents birth, death, and that which gives birth or creates life, sex. He represents orgasm. And the people who support us through these great initiations of life, coming in, burgeoning, expanding, creating more, and going out. Lilith asteroid, the one who is inside of us, praying, begging us to notice her, to acknowledge her so that she may shine forth and empower us. She happens to be opposite Neptune and also opposite Juno. So Neptune and Juno are speaking to us about creating, about this path of initiation that we are on together, and our personal journeys of initiation through life. And I'm going to take a brief look ahead to the new moon. It's basically one chart. Everything that I've already talked about is still active. But there's one other thing that's happening. I'm just taking a quick look here. Actually, it's already active, but it moves into exactness. There is a conjunction between Neptune and Magdalene, and I think this is so gorgeous right now at this time, because we honor, this is the one time of the year that Protestants acknowledge that Mary exists. The closest thing, I was raised Protestant, and Mary was a good wife, a good mother. She was the mother of Jesus, and there's this song that says, "Mary, did you know that you had birthed the Savior," and everything else. And there is really no concept of the divine feminine there. She was a vessel, a servant. She did what women are always supposed to do. She gave of herself. She contributed her womb for the cause of bringing God to earth. But Mary, the mother of Christ, did what all wombs do. She opened up to the divine, allowed the divine to grow inside of her until the fullness of time, and then brought the divine through her vagina, between her legs, to be born, to breathe, to grow, to walk among us as Christ consciousness. So whatever religion or spirituality you may have around that, that is an image, a metaphor, something that is repeated with every birth. And so at this moment of new moon and solstice, we have an exact conjunction between Mercury and Mary Magdalene. Magdalena is the name of the asteroid, and I've heard a couple of other astrologers read her this way. I just say it's Mary Magdalene. And when I see a conjunction there, it is an amplification of this woman who was a great teacher, who carried Christ consciousness and Christ's teachings, actually may even have been Christ's teacher. Some say his wife or his consort. We don't know. We are working with great metaphors, great energies that are much bigger than any story. Something that did happen in all of the stories, there was an annunciation. Once again, as a Protestant, the only time we talked about Mary, maybe we talked about her a little bit at Easter at the crucifixion, but mostly all of the stories are jammed in together for Christmas. And I know that Catholic churches they honor things in the time, like there is an annunciation, which would presumably have been 9 months before Christmas, where the angel comes and says, Mary, you're gonna be the mother of God. You're going to bear a son. So here we've got Mercury. He's the messenger of the gods. He's connecting with Mary Magdalene. So we can see that as a kind of an annunciation, an announcement that the divine feminine is speaking to us, through us, and as us at this time of year. This sacred womb, this light, this time of year where the sun picks up the energy of the galactic center and moves into Capricorn, which actually happens every year. We're just talking about it this year for some reason. This is being emphasized by this conjunction also in Capricorn. So receive this blessing. Receive this blessing. Amplify it in your life. And listen to this again and take some notes, and just, you don't have to carry it in your mind, carry it into your body and ask, what do you want me to do? How can I be of service? What is the highest choice I can make? And I wish you all blessed solstice, blessed new moon, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, blessed Kwanzaa. There are other holidays I do not know the names of, please forgive me. But happy New Year. However you honor this sacred time of the deep dark, the returning light, or high summer if you're on the other side of the world. I love you, thank you, and I'll see you again soon.